I'm Michael Seitz, joined by Alberto Calderon, and this is Cal and Seitz. We got a busy show today. NFL playoffs coming up. We know who will be playing for the college football championship, so let's jump right into that. First, to recap, the two semifinal games. One of them went as expected. The other one, not so much. We'll start with the one that went as expected. Alabama crushes Notre Dame by a score of 31-14. The game wasn't even that close. I don't think either of us are surprised.
No, I'm not surprised by this outcome. Alabama dominated, and they show why they're the best team in the country. And they just show why they're better. And I know you have something to say about Notre Dame. So
Notre Dame in the modern BCS championship bowl era, I think it's since like 98 or something like that, they're 0-7 in big games. 0-7 whenever they are ranked 5 or higher in a bowl. Okay, that's all. They don't deserve it. A&M should have been in there. But,
no, come on. They would have been the same outcome if Texas A&M was in there.
I think A&M would have kept it closer.
Maybe a 4. I mean, they lost by 17, Notre Dame.
It wasn't even that close.
It should have been. It should have been more. But I mean, also, you can't use this. You can't say Texas A&M was in a close game against UNC because you can't because it's a different type of scenario, different type of atmosphere. But it would have been the same outcome. Texas A&M would have gotten blown out again. It would have been close.
All right, so let's move on to the other semifinal game here, and I'm disgusted by the Clemson Tigers' performance here. Justin Fields just threw all over them, and I'm still not sold on Justin Fields. I'm still not sold on him. And I think whoever gets him in the top 10 is going to make a mistake. But he looked really good here in this game. 49-28 winners for Ohio State. As I said, Fields 385, 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, this was a crazy game by Justin Fields. He absolutely went off. He proved everybody wrong for the most part in this game. And obviously he has a little rivalry against Trevor Lawrence. The game last year, the Fiesta Bowl, where Ohio State blew a 16-point lead. And then always, with the draft talking. So I think, Justin Fields is he's still shaky. He has a hell of an arm. He has a cannon, and he showed it on a Friday night. But look, this is going to be a tough task for Ohio State. I don't.
Trevor Lawrence did throw for 400 yards himself, so.
He did. But, Justin Fields was clearly the better quarterback. The Clemson defense couldn't stop Ohio State. But Ohio State stopped Clemson, for the most of that second quarter whenever they went off. So, but, that's a tough task for Ohio State going up against Alabama. I just don't see them. I don't see them winning that game. I really don't.
Yeah. Okay, so some other notable bowls that we were not able to cover. Georgia beating Cincinnati on that last second, 50-something yard field goal.
That was a great game.
Great game. If this field was 16 teams, that would have been a semifinal game, or a quarterfinal game, I believe, or first round game. That would have been fantastic. Auburn lost to Northwestern. Kentucky upset NC State. Ole Miss taking down number 11 Indiana. Iowa State cruised in the Fiesta Bowl, I believe that was, over Oregon.
Yep.
And then A&M over North Carolina in a very good football game at the Orange Bowl. That sets up Ohio State, Alabama, Monday, January 11th. We're going to cover this now because we're not going to talk about anything in college on Friday, I believe. So Alabama is 7.5-point favorites at this moment on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. The over-under is 75, which is ridiculously high.
Wow.
I want to know your thoughts on this one.
I was thinking about this game yesterday, and this is the same type of scenario, the same type of I'd say the same type of scenario in the first college football playoff in 2014. That fourth-ranked Ohio State team against the number one ranked Alabama team. No one gave Ohio State a shot. No one. And this is the same thing that's happening before this game. I just don't see how this is going to be, the same outcome. If the Ohio State did win the first game, I don't see them winning this game. I just don't. This is one of the best Alabama teams that Nick Saban has ever put together. And if Ohio State does win this game, it's going to have to rely on Justin Fields. He's going to have to throw all over the field. He's going to have to put up at least 45 points in this game. But I don't even see them getting more than 28 points, Ohio State. The Alabama defense is too good. And I just see Nick Saban winning another championship. And I think it's the 6th in the last 12, 13 years, which is just an insane mark. So let me hear your thoughts on this game, because this is
Well, it's going to be a high-scoring game. Neither team really has a great defense. I mean, it's Alabama. Of course, they have great players on that side of the ball, but they just haven't seemed to be able to put it together against high-level teams defensively. That could change. That could all change here, but I do think it's going to be a high-scoring game. 75 is a lot of points. I think Alabama wins the game. I think they probably win it by 10. Maybe a late touchdown to pull away to 14 or something like that from 7. I don't know if I'm going to touch this if it stays over 7 for the line.
Yeah.
But I love Najee Harris. By the way, that hurdle was unbelievable in the semifinal game. I was freaking out. But Smith, Jones, and what's his name, Harris are going to go crazy on that Ohio State defense. So I don't think they really have much of a chance. So I think Alabama wins it 10 to 14 points.
Okay.
Alrighty. So we will move on to the NFL. And before we talk any games, we're going to go with open jobs for head coaching positions around the league. So the Los Angeles Chargers have finally fired Anthony Lynn. The Jacksonville Jaguars fired Doug Marrone. The New York Jets, unfortunately for you, Alberto, have fired Adam Gase. The Houston Texans technically have an opening as Bill O'Brien was fired on October 5th, so Romeo Cormel will have to re-interview if he so chooses. And the Falcons fired Dan Quinn on October 11th, so theirs is technically open. The Lions fired Patricia on November 28th, and they are technically open also. That's also far to my knowledge. So we'll start with the Chargers. I think that it is key to get some sort of offensive-minded coach there for Justin Herbert. That's not named Jason Garrett.
They should not bring him in. They really shouldn't. I mean, his tenure in Dallas was so, it's just
mediocre.
It's just terrible, and they should not bring in Jason Garrett. He should stay on the Giants as the OC there. But you need to bring in someone who can develop Herbert. As of right now, and out of all the opening positions right here, the Chargers have the best. That's the best job right there. That is the best job.
Absolutely.
You have Herbert, who looks like an absolute stud. If they bring in an offensive-minded genius who can develop Herbert, making him into a franchise quarterback, in which they already deem that he is, they can make a playoff run next year, maybe get a 6 or 7 seed. And obviously, they need to boast up the defense, but that's the best job right now. I'm sure you can agree.
I do agree with that. It's the most attractive for sure because you can win almost immediately in that system, unlike a place like Jacksonville, which I think, even though they can't win right now, is probably the second most attractive place because theoretically you have Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
But in true Jacksonville Jaguar way, they're looking at Urban Meyer. If they can't get Urban Meyer, they're looking at Ryan Day. For those of you who don't know, Urban Meyer is a former Ohio State head coach. Ryan Day is the current Ohio State head coach. Could they be looking at Justin Fields instead of Trevor Lawrence at number 1?
Maybe. I mean,
how much of a mistake would that be?
I mean, not so much a mistake. I mean, look, Urban Meyer recruited Justin Fields. He's known him since, maybe 13, 14 years old. So if Urban Meyer decides to take that job, and he is interviewing, right? Is he? I mean,
I don't know he's interviewing, but they are interested.
There's mutual interest between both sides. So if Urban Meyer decides to interview and if he gets the job, let's say he does, and they draft Justin Fields, I mean, that's not a bad decision.
I think it is.
You think it is?
Absolutely. You're passing on a generational talent.
I mean, listen, you can't go wrong with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, they should just take him right off the bat. But if they take Justin Fields, Urban Meyer's known him since he was 13 years old, since he was in 8th, 9th grade, and I'm sure he can develop him, to be a superstar for Jacksonville, to be the answer. So,
okay.
I mean, clearly the best choice is Trevor Lawrence, without a doubt.
So you think so obviously the Jaguars are going to go quarterback at 1. It's almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
At this point, it's one of the 2 guys, but you've got James Robinson already.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Chark's pretty good. You got Laviska Shenault.
Yeah.
Keelan Cole's still over there. So you need a tight end, some offensive line, and a whole defense. Sounds like a lot, but it's better than what some other teams have in that position.
Yeah.
So
Sure. I
they
definitely
could, if they do it right, they could be very good in 4 years at the most.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you.
okay, now the New York Jets fired Adam Gase, your buddy, after him going out with a blaze of glory. 2 out of the last 3 were wins, costing the Jets that number 1 overall pick. They have not interviewed anybody so far. I don't know anything about this head coaching position except I would not want it.
What I've heard right now is we're looking at the Rams defensive coordinator, and Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay. I like those guys.
And from my understanding, the Andy Reid coaching tree is phenomenal. I forget the names under that coaching tree,
They're
but
good. They rival the Belichick coaching tree.
Exactly. If they bring in Eric Bieniemy, I think he could develop Darnold. We won't have to draft the quarterback in the first round with our second pick. I don't know who that would be. Most likely Justin Fields if Lawrence goes 1. But I really want Eric Bieniemy. I mean, this guy seems like a genius, and look what they've done in Kansas City between him and Nate. There's no other choice, I think.
All right, we'll move on to Houston. That dumpster fire down south there. Bill O'Brien obviously fired after his 0-4 start. Romeo Cormel is the interim. Didn't have much to work with, obviously. They went, 4-12 this year? So
Yeah.
He was 4-8 after taking over. So far, they've interviewed both. Are you ready for this one? Jim Caldwell and Marvin Lewis.
Oh, gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
They need a defensive-minded coach because you don't need to help out Deshaun Watson. He's got everything figured out. Just give him a wide out. Just get him someone he could throw the ball to. But Marvin Lewis is not the solution. Who was the other one you said?
Jim Caldwell.
Jim Caldwell is
Lions
not
head coach.
He's not the solution. I've heard of Josh McDaniels interested in that job too.
Josh McDaniels is rumored everywhere every year.
I know, and it's pretty insane how it's like that. But they need a defensive-minded coach, but not Marvin Lewis.
Not Marvin Lewis. That's for sure. I don't know what to think of what's going on down there. They should have the number 3 overall pick this year. They don't. They can thank Laramie Tunsil and the Miami Dolphins for that. So the Dolphins have 2 top 18 picks, including the 3rd overall.
Mm-hmm.
It's not looking good down there, and they lost a lot of draft picks next year and the year after too, if I'm not mistaken. At least next year. So it's going to take a while for them to rebuild through the draft and get Deshaun Watson the help he needs. And I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for J.J. Watt too. But they got screwed basically with their organization. So
exactly, and they traded away Hopkins. I mean, they got fleeced in that trade.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, and our 2 left. The Atlanta Falcons fired Dan Quinn back in October. Probably needed him to do that. The Falcons have interviewed a couple guys. Nobody notable, I don't believe. So, who'd you say was the Chiefs' offensive coordinator?
Eric Bieniemy.
The Falcons have interviewed him too, and then Raheem Morris. So, I don't think we're going to get really in depth into this, but the Falcons also need a lot of help.
They need to draft a quarterback this year.
There's only
and if not this year, next year. So
yeah. They need to.
All right, then finally the Detroit Lions. Matt Patricia, their former head coach. So far, they've also interviewed Eric Bieniemy, and that is all. Or I'm sorry, they have a planned interview for Eric Bieniemy. So looks like he's going to be coaching somewhere. Next year.
He will be.
And the Lions still have Stafford. They need a lot of help still though because of the Lions. So
yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the Sunday's action. Any game that had playoff implications. Our field is set. For those who don't know what the field is, 1 through 7: Kansas City, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Indianapolis. And the NFC: Green Bay, New Orleans, Seattle, Washington, Tampa, the Rams, and the Bears. Never thought I would be saying that after their plummet. Okay, so we'll start in Orchard Park, New York. The Bills absolutely destroying the Dolphins, looking even more dangerous than before. 56-26 was the score. Allen played, the first half, and then Matt Barkley came in and started dicing up the Dolphins again. So what the heck happened here?
That was a poor performance by the Miami Dolphins. I mean, you got the playoffs on the line. You win and you're in. I didn't think the Dolphins were going to win this game, especially when they decided Josh Allen was going to start in the first half. But this is not the way to go out. Like we keep saying, they're 2 years ahead of schedule. But you had a win and you're in situation. And this is the type of performance that they put out there. That's not good. And maybe, Fitzpatrick being out had something to do with it, because if they saw Tua struggling in the first couple of drives, they're like, Brian Flores is probably like, this is a playoff game right here for us. We need to put in Fitzpatrick. We need someone who can spark the offense.
Yeah.
But in terms of the Buffalo Bills side, this team is dangerous, man.
Absolutely.
This team is dangerous, and Dolphins had a top 5 defense this year, and look what they did to that Miami defense. This team is dangerous. I want to hear what you say about the Bills.
They are very good, like very, very good, and I think they might be the best team in the AFC right now. And I think they're probably the biggest threat in the AFC right now. Of course, the Chiefs could flip that switch, and we know they can.
Mm-hmm.
But they're might be the team to beat now.
I would have to agree with you. I have to agree with you there.
It's gonna be fun. Hopefully, watching the 2 versus 3 Bill Steeler rematch up in Buffalo. That should be fun, especially if the Steelers get healthy. So, all right, we'll move on. Bengals and Ravens. We're not going to spend much time on this game. The Ravens beat them 38-3, as we expected. And I just want to say that the Baltimore Ravens, they are playing very good football right now, but let's not forget their last however many opponents. After losing to the Titans and Steelers and the Patriots, they lost 3 in a row there. Patriots, Titans, Steelers.
Yeah.
They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Browns, which looks like a decent win here. Good win. Then the Jaguars, Giants, and Bengals. So they've played nobody 4 out of the last 5 weeks of the year. I mean, they're hot now. Give them that, and they're a dangerous team, but
yeah,
I don't think the Ravens are a Super Bowl team in 2021.
No, I have to agree with you there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens win 2 games and they go to the AFC Championship game.
Oh, me neither. But I don't think they can make it all the way.
No, I would have to agree with you there. I expect them to take care of business against Tennessee pretty handedly too. But
really?
The Ravens, I really do think so.
We'll get into this on Friday.
For sure. But I would have to agree with you. I don't see the Ravens going to the Super Bowl this year. And that all depends on Lamar. They're riding on Lamar. If he's hot, he's hot. If he's cold, he's cold. But yeah, I didn't even know that the Ravens played a pretty lousy schedule the last 5 games. I was going into that just thinking that the Ravens were doing whatever they were doing.
It doesn't get talked about because they're not the Pittsburgh Steelers. So.
Exactly, and it's Lamar too.
Yeah.
They're taking care of business though, and that's what they should do, and that's what they're
Absolutely.
doing. But yeah, Ravens are good. They're dangerous, but not
so,
that.
Yep, good. All right, we'll move on to the Steelers and the Browns. The Browns 24, the Steelers practice squad 22. The Steelers had a chance to tie it up at the end of the game on a 2-point conversion. Did not. Claypool was being held on that play, but I don't think Tomlin wanted to score. I don't think Tomlin wanted to win that game. I think Tomlin wanted the Cleveland Browns on Sunday night, and he got it.
Yeah.
These Browns did not impress me. They were literally playing a second and third team defense almost the entire game, and they had 10 points at half. And they scored a touchdown on a short field. So if you can only muster 24 points against a second and third team defense, and one of your touchdowns came on a short field, I mean, good for you, you ran the game. And that first drive of the game for the Browns, they marched right down the field. But after that, 23-yard field goal was 10-0. It was 10-6 at the half. Then the third quarter touchdown to make it 17, I believe, was the short one. And then they had another little drive to start the fourth to make it 24-9, and then almost blew the game. And the Browns had all their starters out there. I mean, I'm sorry, but the Browns are good. They're a good football team, but I don't see them going anywhere anymore after this week. If this Browns team comes out and blows out the Steelers like they were supposed to, absolutely.
Yeah.
They kept it close with Mason Rudolph, who I think looked really good.
He did.
and the Pittsburgh Steelers backups, and there's a problem. What do you think about this one?
No, I agree with you. Tomlin definitely knew what he was doing because, one, they lost, and that's going to give them more motivation coming this week.
And the Browns were partying in the locker room like they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that.
it is a playoff berth for the first time
Still, though,
in years.
that's still.
No, you're right. One, Steelers, they lost this game. Now that's even more motivation, let alone a division rival. And then two, he got the Browns again. That's who they all want.
And Mike Tomlin's seen the Browns twice now in their full playbook.
Mm-hmm.
Stefanski, who has the coronavirus and will not be coaching on Sunday night, has seen the Steeler offense for a half because they blew them out earlier this year.
Yeah, was that week one? Was that week one?
No, it was week 4 or 5. They beat them 38-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a big advantage coaching, obviously, with the Steelers. And Tomlin, I don't know about offensively, but there's a big advantage coaching there and just seeing what the other team has scheme-wise. So
for sure.
It'll be very interesting to see that matchup. We'll get into that, like I said, on Friday. I just want to take a second to point out the Steelers' quote-unquote easy schedule.
Yeah.
So playoff teams here. The Steelers' strength of schedule ended up being 475. Their strength of victory ended up being 448. That 475 is a higher strength of schedule than the Kansas City Chiefs. That 475 is a higher strength of schedule than both the Browns and the Colts. So they're in the middle of the pack for the playoff teams. And if we look at the playoff teams, going from top to bottom, Kansas City, they did not play them.
Yeah.
Buffalo, they lost. They're 0-1 against playoff teams. They beat Tennessee. They beat Baltimore twice. They beat Cleveland twice, and they beat Indy. They're 6-1 against playoff teams. They played every playoff team in the AFC except for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
6-1 against AFC playoff teams, and they had an easy schedule. When you play 7 games, and if you want to count Washington as 6-2, so that's half your schedule against a playoff team, and you want to say it's easy? I've heard enough.
Yeah.
And you can't argue against that.
Yeah.
You can't. And you say the other 8 games were against terrible teams. I don't think barely anybody else, except maybe for the Ravens and the Browns themselves and the Bengals, played more playoff teams this year. I have no research or fact to back that up. That's just based on logic putting things together. I find it very hard to believe that another team has played more playoff teams than the AFC North.
I agree with you because, the AFC North played – would they play in what division did they play in the
They played the NFC South. They played the NFC East and the AFC South.
Yeah, they played the AFC South. That's right. And, they have two very good football teams there. And, intra-division as well. 3 playoff teams in the AFC North.
Yep.
Clearly the best division in all of football. And, you're right. That oh, man, what's the word? I'm trying to, that notion of the Steelers having a weak schedule is completely false. So, you made a good point there. Very good point.
Sounds like your dogs are howling in the background there.
Oh, they're going crazy. I'm sorry. I apologize for that.
It's fine.
They're going crazy over there.
All right. So we will let's real quick, Stefanski's out.
Yeah.
He's one of 5 positive tests, including a couple players. Olivia or Vernier, I believe.
Olivier Vernon, yeah.
Vernon tore his Achilles last week. So they are going to be shorthanded. We will dissect that more on Friday. Okay, let's move on to the crazy 425 slate that was the AFC South. Very interesting. The Titans barely beat the Texans on the doink that went in off the post. And then the Colts barely taking care of business versus the Jaguars. They did pull away at the end, but it was shaky there for a while. I don't really like what I saw from either team. I'm still not sold on the Titans. I don't know if I have much faith in the Colts, but like I said, either can make a run. Thoughts on either of these teams or either of these games?
Both these teams are backing into the playoffs. Although both of them won, they're walking back into the playoffs because the Titans should have taken care of business. I saw this coming. I was like, Houston's gonna, Deshaun Watson's gonna do something. That game was. I was gonna stay away from that game, and Houston almost won. And then you got the Colts. Their one loss was to Jacksonville, and they almost repeated it again 16 weeks later. So, and now they got to play the Bills. Titans got to play the Ravens. I don't see either team, coming close to winning those games. AFC South is good, but they're not.
I could see both winning. I could see anybody winning on any given night in the AFC.
Okay.
Is it likely? Maybe not, but I could see it. So,
Mm.
but yeah, like you said, I completely agree. These teams are backing into the playoffs, and it's bad. I know the Colts have lost a couple in a row. Titans have lost a couple in a row. To go with this game, both 11-5 still, both competent. I think I might have more faith in the Colts with their defense.
Yeah.
But going up to Buffalo is going to be tough.
Tough game.
Tough game, and then the Titans obviously 2-0 against the Ravens in 2020, the calendar year, because they beat them in the playoffs there, and then beat them in overtime in Baltimore earlier this year. So it'll be really interesting to see that. Okay, NFC time. We had the Cowboys and Giants in the early window. The Giants took care of business on it. Just that game screamed NFC East, and it wasn't the game that screamed NFC East the most.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that other one in a little bit. I've got a message for Doug Pederson, but
me too, man.
The Cowboys and the Giants 23-19. There was bad officiating. For some reason, Mike McCarthy didn't challenge a pass that was obviously complete. Incomplete. Obviously incomplete on the Giants side that led to a 51-yard field goal instead of an attempt at a 56 or 7 or more.
Even more.
Probably a punt, honestly.
Yeah.
And then the Giants Dalton on 3rd and goal from the 19, throwing up a prayer instead of running one more play on 4th and goal. Then Wayne Gallman getting loose in the secondary, thinking end zone and just dropping the ball, and then a mad scramble to recover. It was ugly. And the Giants, who had given up the last couple weeks, got the job done at 6-10. Do you deserve to make the playoffs? No, and they did not. It was ugly. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, like you said, this football game just screamed NFC East. This is NFC East football for you. I remember laughing when Gallman fumbled that ball. I mean, there was no one 10 yards within him, and he just fumbled it. And luckily he recovered it. And like you said, Andy Dalton on that bogus throw.
I don't know what he was doing there.
I mean, Jesus. I mean, just set up the 4th down play. And, Mike McCarthy not challenging. Clearly, obviously it's not only Mike McCarthy. Obviously he's listening in his headset.
McCarthy is a terrible coach. Aaron Rodgers carried him.
Yeah.
Carried him. Keep going. Sorry.
I mean, he had Andy Dalton this year. He had Ben DiNucci. He had what was the other guy's name?
Gilbert.
Yeah, Gilbert. I mean, completely.
You almost beat the Steelers.
Completely irrelevant quarterbacks. But this game was bad. And imagine if, as a segue into the Eagles Redskins games, imagine if the Cowboys won this game and the Eagles did that to the Cowboys. Imagine if that was the case.
That'd be crazy.
That would have been
and
America would have been on fire.
All right, before we move on, I do want to correct myself. I said 6-1 against the AFC for the Steelers. It was 5-2 because they lost to the Browns this week. 5-2 against the AFC playoffs. Just want to correct that before I get all the hate in the comments.
Still a stellar record against playoff team.
Okay, so we will move on. We'll get to the other NFC East matchup in a minute.
Okay.
Packers beat the Bears 35-16. Take care of business, lock up the 1 seed. They have a problem putting teams away sometimes because the Bears had multiple opportunities to take the lead in that game late before the Packers pulled away. But the Packers at 21 quick, and then just sat on it. And you can't do that in the playoffs. You cannot do that. But the Bears do get in virtue of the ugliest game of the year in L.A. with John Wolford, who looked good. The Rams backup AAF hotshot finance director quarterback. They beat, I don't know who the hell the Cardinals threw out there. Murray was kind of out there but couldn't move. I don't know who their backup was. He was some weird-looking guy with hair. I don't know. It wasn't pretty. Although the Rams did not score an offensive touchdown, Wolford was marching them up and down the field. They just could not cash in. They had 2 field goals, a safety, and a pick 6. So
that defense is crazy. Although there was the Arizona backup quarterback, that defense is, and even Kyler Murray, he played the entire 4th quarter. That defense is something else.
But he couldn't move. Also,
no,
yes, the Rams defense is phenomenal. So, Wolford actually led them in rushing at 56 yards.
He's
He
fast.
threw for 231. Cam Akers, the running back, led them in receiving at 52. Cooper Kupp was also missing in this game. All right, we'll keep going in the NFC. The Seahawks barely squeaking it out over the Niners, although at the end of the day, they were locked into the 3 when it was all over. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at that game. I'm going to look at that game as Russell Wilson, the offense, is still struggling, and I'm really losing faith in them, although the defense has been playing better. Any thoughts on that one?
I'm just looking forward to that Rams Seahawks round 3.
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
Saints without running backs plowed over the Panthers, as I think much of us still expected them to do. No surprise there. Looking good. Defense looking good. Any comments for that one?
No, defense is looking extremely, extremely tough to beat. Can't march down the field against those guys.
All righty. Okay, here we go. Washington Eagles, 20-14 final score. I was half watching the game. I was doing something else. And I look at my phone, and Twitter and social media are blowing up at Doug Pederson. I said, what is going on? This man benched Jalen Hurts in the fourth quarter without telling a soul. Not even Hurts. Hurts had no idea this was going to happen. Nate Sudfeld, is that his name? Sudfeld?
Yeah.
Comes in, throws like a pick. Then Alex Smith gets it back for Washington, looking to put the dagger in. He throws a pick. Then in the next snap, Sudfeld fumbles the snap. The Eagles were looking at a very favorable position to win the game. And Jalen Hurts he's good. I like what I've seen from him. And he made a play earlier on his one rushing touchdown that looked Lamar-esque from last year. So they had to be throwing the game, right?
They did.
And that's not right. That's not right. I don't care if it's for you to get in, your opponent to get in or out, or your arch rival to get in. You don't do that. And they should be penalized in some way. I don't know if that's draft picks, fine, or what, but they should be penalized. Doug Pederson, he already should have been fired to begin with. I don't know how he still has a job right now.
No, I definitely agree with you. He challenged the integrity of a game, of an American pastime, and the way that he did it, benching Jalen Hurts, it's just I was watching the game and that was just mind-boggling. And Hurts came to the sideline and he's like, "What's going on?" And what was funny is that Peterson in his post-game press conference said that I was doing all that I can to win this game.
That's
a
false.
sentence later, he said, "So I did that, and I put in Nate Sudfeld." That doesn't make any sense. He just contradicted himself. I'm trying to win the game, so I'll bench Jalen Hurts, and I'll put in Nate Sudfeld. He doesn't deserve any snaps. He's in the National Football. That's not, this is not Little League. He doesn't deserve any snaps.
Especially in the fourth quarter of a 6-point game with the team's playoff fate on the line. No.
Exactly. Philly, obviously, they're not playing for anything. They weren't to begin that game. But the way that he did it, he obviously threw the game. And it's not even like the Eagles were trying to get the number 1 draft pick, the number 2 draft pick. They fell from 9 to 6. This draft class is weak anyway, so whoever you get is whoever you get.
It's comparable to 9. 6 is very comparable to 9.
After 3 in this draft, it's pretty much comparable to any other pick besides.
Unless you're taking a quarterback, which they don't need.
They need a wide receiver. And
I think they might actually be better off at 9 getting a Waddle or a Smith than they are at 6.
Yeah.
It makes no logical sense anywhere. You could, however way you look at it, to throw the game, except to keep the Giants out, which they're not going to win anyway. I would think you would want the weaker division rival in the playoff.
Yeah. The NFL should take a look at Doug Pederson and his antics because, 1, obviously this is tanking, and 2, the point shaving game against Seattle Seahawks on Monday night.
Oh my God! Don't remind me.
That was clear point shaving with the trying to cover the spread.
There's something going on.
He himself probably had money on the game, or he knew someone who had money on the game, and that was a clear instance of point shaving. And then this tanking incident. Doug Pederson, I don't know how he still has a job because
And I don't know if it was
behind this too.
What'd you say?
The front office is definitely behind this.
Oh, they have to be.
Yeah.
Because if the front office wasn't, after this incident, for sure, they would have fired the hell out of him right away.
Yeah.
It's bad. They really got to look at it. And I don't know if Wentz didn't dress, but I don't know if that was his decision or Pederson's. I wouldn't be surprised if it was his decision. But this was just, it was bad. It's really bad. So, but all for Washington. Ron Rivera said in his press conference something along the lines, I'm not quoting him, but something along the lines of, look, I'm not going to apologize for winning. We just went out there and played the cards dealt, and that's true.
Yeah.
People are trying to blame Ron Rivera for winning a game that the other team threw. How can you blame him for that? I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and I'm glad that he said, I'm not apologizing because I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the playoff matchups set in stone. 3 games Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. Should be a great slate for the most part.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to these games, man. I love playoff football. Nothing better.
So we got on Saturday, Indianapolis and Buffalo kick it off at 1 on CBS. The Rams in Seattle at 4:40 on Fox, and then Tampa, Washington at 8:15 on NBC. Out of those 3 games, I am not shocked, but I'm disappointed that Tampa and Washington is the 8:15 game.
Yeah, it should have been Rams Seahawks.
Yeah, that's just they put that on there for one reason, is Tom Brady.
Tom
But
Brady.
in reality, if we're looking at these 3 games, obviously Indianapolis Buffalo is the most quote unquote like mundane, because obviously the fan bases in Buffalo is very passionate and everything, but they're not the biggest fan base across the country.
Yeah.
Same with Indianapolis. So what I would have loved to see is Tampa, Washington at 1, Indy, Buffalo at 4, and Rams and Seahawks at 8:20. But it's all right. We'll move on to Sunday on Super Wildcard Weekend is what they're calling it now.
Yeah.
That is Baltimore and Tennessee at 1:05 on ABC and ESPN. Chicago and New Orleans at, 4:40 on CBS, Nickelodeon. You heard that right. This football game will be on Nickelodeon if you so choose to watch it on there, and Amazon Prime Video. And then Cleveland-Pittsburgh, the 8:15 game on NBC and Peacock. For these, though, I think they could have rearranged them. I want to know what you think about this one, too.
I like the slate. I'm surprised the Bears Saints is not Fox. But obviously the Nickelodeon maybe compromised that or something. I don't know.
I have no idea what their compromise and deals are, what they're going to do next round. So
yeah,
Fox might get 2 next round, and then
something
CBS
there.
and NBC get 1 or something. So
yeah, I'm surprised Buck and Aikman aren't calling that game. But I'm interested in that Sunday night game. That's what we want. That's we want to see the Steelers Sunday night football. Obviously, they're I don't even know how to explain it. They're like the Yankees of the National Football League. You want to see them play. You want to see them on Sunday night. You want to see them on the biggest stage. You know what I'm trying to get at?
First, never compare Pittsburgh team at all to the New York Yankees again. We don't want to be associated with that. Okay. Secondly, yes, I do know what you mean, but for the sake of good games, this one could be very good. But I personally would have liked to see Chicago and New Orleans on at 1, Pittsburgh and Cleveland on at 4:40, and Baltimore, Tennessee on Sunday night.
Really? I don't want to see Tennessee Titans on Sunday Night Football.
I think that game's going to be really good. Those 2 teams do not like each other at all.
They don't.
Those 2 teams have a brewing hatred for each other. Those 2 teams remind me of what the Steelers and Titans were back in the Troy Polamalu days.
Okay.
They hated each other, those 2, back in the mid-2000s, early 2010s. So that's what it's kind of reminding me of. These teams are getting a little chippy with each other, physical with each other. So it'll be real interesting. Anything else to add on the times and dates of the games?
No, I'm excited. Let's get it going, man.
All right, so last thing for today. Top 14, ranking all the playoff teams 1 through 14. Power rankings.
Okay.
We're going to start at number 14. I'll go first. My number 14 team and the worst in the playoffs, with no surprise, is the Washington Football Club.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you there.
Alrighty, so number 13, I've got, although they have been hot recently, the Chicago Bears at
Ooh,
13.
okay. I got Indianapolis at 13.
Okay. All right, 12, I got the Tennessee Titans.
Ooh.
I mean, I
You're
love
not high.
Henry, and Henry could win them a playoff game or two, but the defense is just secondary so bad.
Yeah. It is.
All right, who you got at 13?
I got the Bears.
Okay. 12, or excuse
11.
me, that was 12. This is 11.
Yeah.
This is 11. I've got the Cleveland Browns after their showing last week.
Okay.
What do you got?
I got the Rams.
Okay.
I mean, who knows who they start next
If
week.
Jared Goff is their quarterback, they're very good.
Yeah, I mean, still not very good on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, yeah, but better than John Wolford starting.
Yeah, I mean, is they're still up for grabs on who they're gonna decide to start, right?
Yeah, they need Goff to be healthy. I don't know.
He was throwing before the game against Arizona on the field. I mean, he
That's
was
a good
ripping the
sign.
ball.
That's a very good sign. All right,
Despite his injury.
let's move into our top 10. You want to go first here?
Sure, I'll go first.
All right,
So
number 10.
I got Tennessee.
Okay, I've got Indy.
Ooh.
And that's just based on the fact that their running game is going crazy right now and their defense is still good. So,
All right.
okay, who you got at number 9?
I got Indy at 9.
Okay, I've got the Rams at 9.
Ooh. I know
I
I would have thought you put them higher.
No, not yet. If they win next week, they'll be higher.
Okay.
Okay, at number 8, I've got Seahawks.
Ooh. I got Baltimore.
Okay.
I got Baltimore.
At number 7, I have Baltimore.
Ooh, I'm surprised you put them high. Okay.
Who you got?
I got Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I have Pittsburgh.
Who you got at 6?
I have Seattle. Who you got?
I've got Tampa.
Okay.
Tampa up at 6. I think that's pretty respectable for them. That might even be a little high. So.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5, I believe. Yes, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers still.
Okay.
You got a 5.
I got Tampa.
Okay. We have the exact 4 teams that are in the top 4 the same. Might have the exact same list. I know my list hasn't changed really much from last week.
Yeah.
So number 4, I've got the Saints.
Same. I got New Orleans.
Number 3, I've got the Chiefs.
Ooh. Ooh, man. I have Buffalo there at 3. I'm gonna keep him there.
Okay. I've got the Buffalo Bills at 2.
All right, I got KC at 2.
And for the second straight week, our unanimous number 1 is the Green Bay Packers. I like it. I really think the Packers could win the Super Bowl. I think they're going to be the NFC's representative. I would not be shocked if they cruise through that NFC.
Okay. So who's your Super Bowl matchup right now? Same thing as last week?
Yeah, Green Bay, Buffalo.
All right.
Who do you got?
I'm going to throw in a curveball.
Ooh.
And I really do believe in this man. I believe in their defense.
Well, I know you're not going to say Kirk Cousins because they're not in the playoffs.
Never take that man in a primetime game.
Hey, he beat New Orleans last year.
He did.
All right, who you got?
I got Tampa Bay versus Kansas City. I really do believe in that man. I really do.
I don't trust the defense. Just don't. Still don't. Never have. Never will. I don't care if they get to the Super Bowl. I still won't trust them. I don't care if they win the Super Bowl. I still won't trust that defense. Ever. Ever.
Hey, he has nothing left to prove, but he still wants to prove something.
Absolutely. Well, he does have something left to prove. He has to prove that Belichick wasn't the force that made him great, which I don't think it was anymore. I thought it was before the season. I don't think it was anymore. Because look what happened this year, although he didn't have a real quarterback. But still. All right, that's all the time we've got for today. Friday, if everything goes as planned, we'll have at least one special guest, maybe 2. We're going to go headfirst deep dive into the playoffs, all 6 matchups, and future matchups. we will give you our NFL MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year winners. Personally, what we think should be a very fun show, and whatever other breaking news or crazy news is going on, we will have that for you also. And if you really want to look ahead on Tuesday, it's coming, Alberto, NHL special with some football mixed in, of course.
Of course.
All right, that's all the time we got for today. Thanks for watching Cal Insights. Please be sure to like, subscribe if you already haven't. Leave in the comments what you want to hear in the future. Have a good one, guys.